According to a report from last year, the global fashion industry accounts for 10% of carbon emissions in the whole world, more than international flights and maritime shipping combined. This report came from the Apparel Impact Institute, which is a collaboration of brands, manufacturers, and industry associations that band together to identify, fund, and measure proven climate solutions to accelerate positive impact in the apparel and footwear industries. In 2021, the apparel and footwear industries emitted approximately 897 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents into the atmosphere. A quick search of the many articles online suggests that more than 100 billion pieces of clothing are manufactured each year, which roughly equals to 13 pieces of clothing for every person on the planet. Do you buy more than 13 pieces of clothing each year? Maybe much more than that? And do you know how many were made in Taiwan compared to China and other East Asian countries? In this episode, we aim to discover Taiwan's once robust textile industry, what happened to it, and the impact of fast fashion as a concept and profit-generating machine. I'm your host, Joey Chow, and this is Beyond the Reefs. Hi, you're listening to Beyond the Reefs, a show produced by Radio Taiwan International. Here we talk about socioeconomic issues that are faced by Taiwan and their broader impact around the world, beyond the reefs of this island nation. In the last few years, Taiwan is mainly known for its production of advanced semiconductor chips. But people in the Western world might remember that there was a moment in time when it seemed like every piece of clothing had "Made in Taiwan" tag on it. Of course, that mainly had to do with labor arbitrage. Wherever production cost is cheapest, companies around the world will find a way to source their supply from or relocate their manufacturing operations to those places in order to squeeze more profit margin from the goods they sell. And from post-World War II to the early 70s, one of those places was Taiwan. Changes in the world's economic and political order in the 1950s had brought opportunities for the textile industry to kick off development in Taiwan. On the economic side, the manufacturing cost of garment in Europe and the US, as well as Japan, had been rising, whereas Taiwan's wages were relatively low. And it pains me to say that wages are still quite low in Taiwan, comparatively. Anyhow, the production was shifted to Taiwan to help reduce cost, which had created enormous job opportunities in Taiwan. The government also gave significant support to the industry. In terms of world politics, the Korean War broke out during this period. The US contained China and the Soviet Union, but assisted Taiwan through exporting to its massive amount of materials, including cotton, which prompted development and export of Taiwan's cotton textile products. In 1959, Taiwan's export of textile products amounted to more than $13 million, equivalent to 12% of Taiwan's total export value. By the 1960s, the Taiwanese government adjusted the development direction and policy for its textile industry with a shift of production to artificial fibers. Thus came the golden age of Taiwan's textile industry. Taiwan replaced Japan to be the new base of Asia's textile and garment export, amounting to over 30% of the country's total export. Taiwan at that time, together with Hong Kong, Italy, and South Korea, were ranked as the world's top 4 exporters of textile products. Although this all came to a head in the 1973 oil crisis, when exporting costs skyrocketed, but a pretty strong textile industry undercurrent continues to thrive even to today. However, that also means that the waste from the fashion industry can be quite severe here in Taiwan. We'll be speaking with a clothing brand founder and CEO to find out what Taiwan is doing about it, and cover some possible solutions through government policies with an executive director of an NGO that's committed to make fashion ethical and circular.
When it comes to fashion, if it looks great, it should be worn. If it's by our skin, it should be safe. And when it's worn out, it shouldn't be wasted. Sounds like common sense, right? But that's not how it is today. 1 truckload of clothing is being burned or landfilled every second. Mountains of clothes are stuck in warehouses and at the bottom of our wardrobes. and less than 1% of used clothing is turned back into new clothes. Globally, it's costing us billions of dollars every year. This shouldn't be the price of looking and feeling good. People's demands and expectations are changing. It's time the fashion industry changes too. There's so much that brands can do now, but no organization can shift the system alone. Make Fashion Circular brings together people across the entire industry to develop new solutions, scale the ones that work, and build a fashion industry that's beautiful, inside and out.
Before we get to those conversations, we should define what circular means. A circular economy is a model which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products as long as possible. The same goes for circular fashion, where the manufacturing of an article of clothing is equally important as to what happens at the end of its life. The aim is to prevent waste by intentionally designing items to be reusable, repairable, biodegradable, and recyclable. And we also need to coin another term, fast fashion, which is the main contributing factor to why the global fashion industry accounts for 10% of carbon emissions worldwide. It describes low-priced but stylish clothing that moves quickly from design to retail stores to meet trends, with new collections being introduced continuously. And you can probably name some of the biggest fast fashion brands in the world. The biggest being Zara, a Spanish company, which generated $38.9 billion in revenue last year. H&M, a Swedish company, $22.8 billion. Uniqlo, a Japanese company, $18.3 billion. Gap, a US company, $14.8 billion. Lululemon, what used to be a Canadian startup, now a US company, $9.6 billion. And of course, there are your Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, Ralph Lauren, Victoria's Secret, American Eagle Outfitters. The list goes on. And the biggest consumer markets of fast fashion are China, US, and India. Respectively, they consume approximately 40 billion units, 20 billion units, and 7 billion units each year. The three make up more than 50% of the global fast fashion that are being consumed. Today we'll be speaking with Sophia Yang, the executive director of an NGO based in Canada called Threading Change.
Hi there, my name is Sophia Yang, and my Chinese name is Yang Yacheng, and I'm the founder and executive director of an environmental youth-led ethical fashion organization called Threading Change. And I immigrated to Canada from China when I was 8 years old, and I've been a climate activist since I was 12 after an article interviewing Dr. David Suzuki was asking him about what young people can do to raise awareness about global warming, it was called at the time. And fast forward to now, I've gone on to do my Bachelor of Science degree at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And for me, I really forayed into the fashion and textiles industry after realizing how much of an intersectional problem it really is. It really cross-cuts the climate, the racial, the gender, and the labor aspects of many industries. And for me, it was always about bringing young people into a space that we were not traditionally well represented, and looking at how we can use our tri-impact model of education, innovation, and also legislation to really drive change. When we talk about fashion and sustainability within the fashion industry, it always came down to, the triple bottom line of people, planet, profit, which understandably so, we live in a capitalist society. They have to make their profit margins, and they don't want to spend more money to make more expensive products, especially if consumers are not demanding it. Right now, what's happening is that many companies are designing their products with planned obsolescence in mind. So that's essentially when they are creating products, they are purposely making the products cheaper, the quality lower compared to decades ago, and there is less of a mending culture than before. But now we have products of lower quality that brands are purposely pushing on us because now they're more cheaply made and the price tag is decreasing and decreasing. But I was realizing as well was that, for a lot of young people around me, brands market to us only on the basis that we're consumers and we're Gen Z and we just want to keep buying more things. So Threading Chain was really created based on this tri-impact model of education awareness for consumers, but also helping brands better understand to actually cater to young consumers and that we're way more than just consumers, also change makers as well. Kind of like societal pressure and almost a societal norm to almost make sustainability cool in a way and to really educate people is like, yes, you can buy the cheaper garment, but you can also do things like upkeep the garment, swap the garment after, gift it after, rewear it and reuse it, really, as opposed to just getting rid of it right away.
Fast fashion isn't just about cheap clothes. It's more like a system that gets consumers to buy more clothes more frequently, and unfortunately, it's this cycle where low-quality, trendy clothes are mass-produced to keep up with the latest styles and sold at very low prices. But that price is just a part of the story. What most people don't see is the price paid by textile workers and the environment. These clothes are made quickly, often with synthetic, plastic-based fabrics, and they're typically not built to last. And that's what makes fast fashion so cheap. Workers aren't adequately paid, and production is rushed, leading to poor quality items. The goal is to get consumers to buy more, wear the item less, and toss them quickly. It's a profit machine that thrives on fast-changing trends and our desire for newness. Social media and influencer culture fuels this cycle too. For example, if a celebrity posts a photo in a new outfit, their followers want it instantly. Fast fashion brands jump on this, often reproducing a look within days. We saw this with the brand In The Styled, which copied a bodysuit Kylie Jenner wore and had it in store in just 10 days. The demand for rapid production also creates issues for workers. Factories are expected to roll out new designs in weeks, creating intense, unpredictable work conditions. Sadly, a hotbed of workers' rights issues. And then there's the issue of waste. Fast fashion thrives on low prices and quick sales, pushing people to buy more. In fact, people in the UK today buy 60% more clothing than in 2000, and online searches for cheap clothes skyrocketed during the first lockdown. Plus, services like Klarna let people buy on credit, deferring payment like a payday loan for clothes. The kicker? Those clothes are barely worn. The average item gets worn just 14 times before it's tossed, and many young people consider something worn once or twice as quote-unquote old. The rapid, low-cost production also means that quality is often sacrificed, so most of these garments aren't designed to last. A lot of them end up in landfills after just a few wears. In the end, fast fashion has become a cycle of overproduction, exploitation, and waste. It's a system that's not sustainable for the planet or for the people in it. Let's hear more from Sophia Yang about what can be done.
So when governments implement policy and legislation that gives brands penalties for either not being sustainable, not disclosing their emissions, they can also do legislation around digital product passport, where every garment needs to have a QR code or scan ID that showcases a chain of custody and how many steps and stages the garment has been through and where it came from. By the way, digital product passport is already being rolled out in the EU. It will be fully implemented by 2027. Certain countries have also put in tax incentives for consumers to repair, to mend. France has done that. They also have extended producer responsibility laws coming in. What extended producer responsibility policy is doing is that it says, if this company is selling this sweater, the consumer can take back this sweater to the store, and this company has to now not just dispose of the sweater, but find a way to actually reuse the sweater, whether it's to break it down to make it into a new material or repurpose it into textiles, for couches and other goods. What I want to point out is a lot of countries that really need a digital product passport and EPR policy as well are not implementing this. So this is UK, USA, and also Australia and Canada, right? Like these four countries have some of the highest numbers of fast fashion consumers in the world. So I think it's by demanding change in that way through consumers, but then also, working directly with the government and industry that we can really go about this change.
According to estimates, nearly 10 pieces of clothing are discarded every minute in Taiwan, amounting to a stack of old clothes burnt annually, reaching the height of 10 Taipei 101 towers. On average, each person owns 75 pieces of clothing, but about 15 of them are hardly worn. Excessive waste of clothing imposes a severe environmental burden. I just threw away a lot last year, and yet my closet is still exploding. Luckily, Taiwan does have a pretty robust recycling system. If you own a condo or live in an apartment with a management team and you can pay monthly fees for maintenance, you likely have a recycle room in the basement, from plastic and cardboards to glassware and metal containers, as well as a big metal rectangle for used clothing. You can also see these around parks. You can recycle clean shirts, pants, skirts, dresses, vests, coats, and suits. Just make sure you don't throw your socks, hats, shoes, belts, gloves, underwears in them. After recycling, old clothes are sorted and classified. Those suitable for further use are donated or sold to people in need, or they may be sold overseas for reuse. Other clothes that are less suitable for wearing are repurposed for secondary uses, such as making rags or stuffing, and are processed through energy recycling methods. But we cannot rely on recycling alone. Fortunately, Taiwan's textile industry is at the forefront of research and development of synthetic fiber raw materials and innovative weaving and dyeing technologies. And this can be seen during major global sporting events such as the Olympics and FIFA World Cup. Taiwanese manufacturers have become the preferred clothing suppliers for many national teams. In the 2022 FIFA World Cup, for instance, Taiwanese manufacturers' weaving technology transformed ocean waste into fibers that went into the uniform of 9 national teams. In the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup and UEFA Europe Football Championship, a total of 16 national teams put on these innovative jerseys. We spoke with the founder of a women's sport clothing brand called Via Sweat here in Taiwan. Her name is Melody Xu, and we asked her what it's like to go sustainable with fashion products and what are some hurdles that need to be overcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Melody. I'm the founder of Via Sweat, a women's activewear brand based out of Taipei, Taiwan. So since 2017, we've made the commitment to try and use more sustainable material, such as fabrics that are made from recycled plastic bottles or recycled fibers, as well as incorporate more sustainable processes or practices into our business. I decided to do it after I became a mom because I just felt like, I am so fortunate to have this platform. And if I could just do a little bit of good for the world, for the planet, then that's enough for me. I'm very fortunate to have started this brand in a place where, we have a very strong concept of sustainability already. In fact, Taiwan has one of the most efficient recycling programs globally. I think it's like a 55% collection rate. So I feel like the concept of sustainability has been taught and kind of like ingrained in us since a very young age. But on the other side, I feel like Taiwanese customers were also very price sensitive. Where we're at right now, I feel like sustainable materials can still sometimes be more of a luxury, but I'm confident that as we move more towards, the economies of scale, while I'm hopeful for a future where we can have more circular economies, but I feel like in the meantime, we can start incorporating processes or initiatives wherever we can. A little bit goes a long way. I feel like a part of sustainability really is kind of like giving back to the community or giving it back to the earth, like wherever you can. So Relove campaign is something we've been doing for a couple of years now. We take pre-loved sports bras or even regular bras. So customers, they just mail in from any brand. We take any brand and we work with a foundation that places them with women and girls in third world countries that might need them. And in return, we give a cash discount back to our customers towards their next purchase. Besides that, the initiative to kind of echo back to giving back, starting last year, we've also partnered with Plastic Bank to sponsor local communities in the Philippines and Indonesia to collect 5 plastic bottles from the ocean for every order that we get. And in addition to collecting these plastic bottles, we also work with the Eden Reforestation Project to plant 1 tree for every order. While it's not exactly reflected in the price to the consumer, but I feel like there's things that we can do to give back just a little bit to the communities, and partnering with these foundations, making a commitment where every order that we get, it helps not only the planet, but also empowers these local communities to be more self-sustainable.
There are more and more companies that are conscious about the environmental damage as well as the waste of human and material resources in fast fashion. And Taiwanese entrepreneurs continue to carry the nation's textile industry mantle by innovating new ways to design and apply fashion products in a meaningful way. Coming up next week, we like to talk about one of the key factors that makes fast fashion manufacturing possible: cheap labor, as we shed some light on Taiwan's migrant workers. I'm Joey Tao, and you've been listening to Beyond the Reefs.